Hello, Smegheads, and welcome back to Smug Mode, a podcast where we talk about the British sci-fi comedy classic Red Dwarf. I'm Ben Gilman, as always. I'm joined by Tom Hill,
Hey,
Dan Rudge,
Hello.
and Troy Salmon.
what up, guys?
And today we conclude our Series 6 retrospective by finishing up with Episode 6, Out of Time. Smug Mode is now engaged. This episode, when a dead school ship materializes alongside Starbug, the crew are alarmed to receive an SOS call from themselves 15 years into the future. So what do you guys think of this one? Because I personally love this one.
It was a good one. I love the distortion of reality. I love it.
You do realise next week we're going to have a explain to Ben how the F word they survived the whole explosion thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
We have any kind of idea ourselves.
Oh my god.
By blowing up the time drive, they went back to the moments before they found the time machine, and therefore were able to not be in that situation anymore.
It's quite wobbly, timey-wimey.
Wobbly.
Can I just say, I hate to derail this further, but I do have to make a point of congratulating Mr. Ben Gilman on being able to actually do this podcast on the second take this week.
Woohoo! Yes! Oh yes! Go on, Ben.
Well done, man. Happy birthday.
Really liked it. Very professional. Keep it up, Ben.
Thank you. When there's a time constraint, I'm your man. We should do that every week. So yeah, that saves me having to ask you guys next week because because they clearly to be continued. They clearly knew that they were coming back, so
they had no idea if they were able to get back.
No idea they were coming back because immediately after this, that's when Rob Grant and Doug Naylor split up. So the BBC wanted another series, but they were unable to do it because Grant and Naylor split up really quite acrimoniously and couldn't come to any kind of agreement on anything.
Okay.
I wonder why they put to be continued though, because that would have been a real dick punch if they'd never come back to it.
Because it was a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And originally it wasn't a cliffhanger. There was actually another scene filmed after that where they're celebrating where it explained that they went back to before when they found the time drive. And they're all celebrating by having margaritas that turn out to be made of the wine from Urine Recyc, and they all get foam moustaches, which is a callback to a joke at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But they then decided that it was better if they left it on the cliffhanger. But anyway, yeah, that's just random aside.
Basically, the whole idea behind the episode, if you have somehow managed to stumble onto this and haven't seen it yet, is that the crew are still searching for their main ship, Red Dwarf. They are still on Starbug. They have been for this entire series. And they've managed to pick up on something while in another kind of emergency maneuver, having to go through a supernova cloud, is it?
It's it's a cloud of time of unreality bubbles.
Yeah.
Unreality bubbles are being deployed within this cloud as defensive mechanisms, and they're trying to get through these bubbles to find out what is so important that seems to be derelict that is being protected by them. It leads to a wonderful bit wherever Lister in a pocket of unreality appears to be
an android.
Android. And Crichton's like, oh, who in the world is ever going to tell him he's cybernetic? And Connor's like, I'll name you if you let it be me.
I love that joke. The only thing I really don't like about it is how big a dick Crichton is.
Yeah, we went straight douche in this episode, bro.
Yeah, when he thinks that Lister is not human and is in fact an earlier model.
Yeah.
It's a heel turn.
He turns into a proper cock.
And the thing is, Lister was always the one who was helping him out as well when he first came on the ship. So what the hell?
Yeah.
It's a proper Hulk Hogan NWO heel turn, baby. Like a proper Yeah.
I want to come down on this on Team Crichton on this.
Go on.
Okay.
Because I have a different level of reasoning. Because Tom, you've brought this up a couple of times on this podcast, right?
What's
and
that?
so the point about whenever everyone thinks that Lister is cybernetic, Crichton treats him like crap. I'm gonna have to say, I think there's a level of reasoning behind that isn't just, oh, you're now beneath me because you're cybernetic and not even as good a model as I am, right? I think it's like he says it in that I've been dealing with your like undergarments and
Scrubbing the gussets of your long johns.
and
Yes.
I let you break my programming. I listened to what you had to say, and it turned out that you weren't this human being to actually look up to and to try and emulate at any point during that I thought you were.
All right. Question for you then, Dan. Would you say that Crichton is reasonably knowledgeable and intelligent within sort of certain parameters?
Yes.
So why would he believe that an android needed their gussets, their long johns cleaned? He would have never had to clean long johns if it was an android.
Because that's what the pocket of unreality had to allow for.
I still, to me, it's a slight hole. I was going to bring it up as a question mark anyway, but yeah,
it is a question mark. Like it's something which you can't really say in terms of real science possibility.
True. The one thing I would say about this entire episode, it is actually very high on the heavy on the actual sci-fi theory and stuff. It's it plays with a lot of kind of sci-fi ideas heavily.
You have to be paying attention to this episode.
Yeah, you have to.
Because otherwise you can easily lose yourself, you know what I mean?
But I mean, I love the when Lister makes the chocolates into a log cabin with a picket fence and all that.
Oh
They got a good applause from them.
It was just absolutely beautiful.
Crichton's an absolute prick here, like, you know, having to go in for triangle sandwiches. Yeah.
Did you use a set square? I think not.
When he comes back, it's like, oh.
Yeah, the perfect picket fence. I'm not happy with it. I'll take it back.
Oh, the heartbreak.
Like, and that's what Lister can do.
Yeah.
No, but you guys are missing the beginning, man. When Rimmer, he goes, the quote. Well, I'll go for.
Oh God, when
the
morale officer.
Yes, he goes. You can't have gone and noticed, but morale is an all-time low. We've lost all trace of withdrawal from the supplies are low. So
Yes.
I had to put myself morale officer and set myself the task with morale all around. Yes. And now for a very reductive, we all met once a week and had a coffee or a beer, whatever's your poison. And looks at Lister. And get every trouble job each of our chests. So any objections, everyone just goes quiet. So well, as it's 1 week, why don't I start? So you know what? It is about Lister. It really makes me want to puke.
You know what it is about Lister that makes me want to puke?
Yeah. I really want to stab him both in the eyes with an ice pick.
I just want to say I love the smug, the lovely smile.
Yes.
While this is going on,
unbelievable git.
Yeah.
To get us back a little bit on track, so they do get through the unreality bubbles.
Yeah.
Including one where, the cat is completely invisible and has to deal with that.
That was awesome.
I'm unforgettable.
I love the animal
one where they end up hurtling through space without the ship.
Oh, awesome.
Oh yeah, and the animal heads.
Yeah.
So they manage to get through this, and they find out that there's this basically sort of massive science ship kind of thing that's been working on time manipulation and time travel. It's from the 20th century. And they managed to get onto it, and they managed to find a time drive and hook that time drive up to Starbug. And they immediately test it out, which leads to a wonderful line of, "We're still in deep space, sir, only now we're in deep space in the 15th century. Isn't it wonderful?"
Don't look on Rimmer's face.
Because of course, inevitably, they've gone back to the 15th century, but they're still where the hell they were.
It was like, are we still a million miles away? Like, yes.
What's the
I
line?
do love Rimmer's little snarkiness. What exactly was the point of that little exercise? Fun for it
Fun though
was
it
drinking
was.
in the any medieval atmosphere of pre-Renaissance deep space. The time driver is next to useless. Yes, I love that.
And Cry was all celebrating as well. Like, if there's something that was funny, say.
We're going to talk about the crew and their future tenses here.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
like, Rimmer
we
looks
can if you
like
want.
Desmond Lynam from Match of the Day in the 90s.
Oh, damn.
Cat looks like, I don't know what the cat looks like.
an older version of Danny John Jules.
Cat looks like if Richard Pryor had let himself go even more.
Oh.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I
And
definitely
Crichton
think
looks like something died on his head.
that toupee. It's amazing.
It's great.
And them eyebrows. Crichton.
Oh.
What's he doing? With the turtleneck and everything. I love it. That's funny, isn't it? Oh, God, so snobby.
I do love Lister in the jar with the brain though. Because they build up to it masterfully with Crichton, because he sees it before they see it. And he's in the kitchen scene with Lister is very funny. Very, very funny.
Yeah.
I love you, man.
Where he uses all the chilies, yeah.
Yeah.
What happens here? And then this is all looking in through the scope binoculars.
The Mediscan.
Yeah, the Mediscan. He said, "Oh man, you really let yourself go." Just all the crew members are like, "What? Let me see it." Like, nah.
I just love that when Rimmer's looking through it and he says, "Oh dearie dear Lister, is he fat?" Well, no, he's lost a bit of weight actually.
Oh, that's a lot of weight, yeah. A lot of it. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Oh, that is tragic. What happened to my butt? Oh, sorry.
So,
go on, Dan.
Right.
Carrying on with the story, they end up meeting their future selves, who end up being these absolute arseholes who, through greed and wanting a life of luxury, have ended up consorting with the absolute worst of history, and they're quite open about this.
People who are a bit dodgy. Thank you, Daniel.
Yes, a bit dodgy.
Is it really realistic to expect they all of a sudden hang out with Nazis? It's a bit of a stretch for me.
Well, I don't see. This is one of my issues with this episode. I can totally believe it of Rimmer.
But not the rest of them.
Not
That's
so much
right.
the others.
I found it like the back end of this episode kind of sucked a bit.
I don't
I
necessarily.
feel like there would be an entirely different reasoning process for Cat, but he would end up making the same reasoning process as Lister and Crichton, and both of them would have absolutely no truck with this.
Okay.
But I don't know. I guess it could be like an alternate timeline type thing. That's what I got from it. Like certain pathways got them to that point, and I don't know if he'll make the same mistake ever again. You know what I'm saying? Like I guess it's kind of a wrong turn type thing. That's what I got from it.
I suppose one of the questions you have to ask is Lister still human if he's just a brain in a jar?
Yeah.
Which would then ask the question of, does Crichton have to do what Rimmer tells him rather than Lister? And if such, has over time he just been worn down because he didn't have a choice in the matter anyway?
I want to know what happened to Lister.
Yeah. But
I think
that's
there's
one
variation on what
possibility.
happens to them now.
What's that?
I think if you want to look at there's like a popular theory in a lot of time travel stuff is that things will get back to as close as they can to what they should be.
Yeah.
Want to make a really small change, you have to make a really big effort. And you have to sustain that really big effort to ensure that tiny change.
Yeah,
So
time will right itself unless you do something exceptional. Yeah.
So that thing that happens to Lister at the end of the episode, where he's the first one to go, I think it's basically something like that. I think in another episode they surrender at that point, they make the exchange, they can save Lister's brain, and they move on from there.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, Craig Charles famously didn't find this episode funny, said he threatened to kill him off.
Yeah.
And he retitled the episode "Rest in Peace, Lister." R.I.P.
But
Yeah, that was the working title.
in Craig Charles's defense, the script was written so late that they hadn't seen it before they were filming it. They had there are auto cues all around the set, and they're saying the lines for the first time as it's being recorded. In fact, the lines were being changed while they were recording in front of the audience.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's an impressive feat that you don't really notice it, but that must have been a bloody stressful recording if they were doing that on the fly.
Yeah,
Uh,
Robert Llewellyn, in his autobiography, said he effing hated. Let me just find it. Oh yeah, he said he effing hated it. Stressful. Most probably gave him a lot. That day gave him more grey hairs than any other event in his life.
Well, yeah, I can
He
imagine.
almost quit. He almost quit. He almost walked out. Didn't come back for season 7 because of it.
Well, yeah, you could imagine that.
Apparently,
Yeah,
according to
but
what
you could. Well, I can't say that Robert Llewellyn's got any reason to lie about that. It was a 3-year hiatus for a show that had basically done at least one recording a year up until that point.
Yeah.
So obviously something, because the Grant Naylor partnership splitting up was a big thing, but I wonder how much of that was the reason that this episode wasn't written is because they were having issues with each other or what.
Yeah.
Because this episode, I like it. It's heavier on the sci-fi and less on the comedy in this one, although it's still funny. And it's more plot driven than comedy driven this episode. But I've always found it a little bit stinted, and I've always found it a little bit jarring as an episode. And now I understand why. I hadn't realised that the script was still being written as they did it and things like that.
Yeah.
And that the crew were pissed off. You can kind of feel it ever so slightly within this episode. That
It's
something
not
is
too
quite
funny. Right. It's more. How do I describe
There's tragedy. It feels tragic.
Yeah, it's a dark episode.
Fine line between comedy and tragedy.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my issue. I love the episode, but because it's so beautifully plot driven and it's a nice cliffhanger at the end and all of that, but it's nowhere near my favorite episode of this series. Personally.
It does have that wonderful little bit of interplay between all of them whenever they make that decision to fight.
See, once again, I've got an ever so slight problem with that.
Okay, what's your problem?
Okay, go on.
In that it's Rimmer. I mean, he's the one who, when they came up against the genetic mutants, immediately surrendered. When they were threatened by the Kinitawawi, immediately surrendered. He's also the one who's a fan of Hitler. He's got a magazine called Despots Monthly, if you remember from season 3. So he's the one who wouldn't have a problem with having dinner with the Goerings and the Hitlers and all that. So he'd be the one who'd, I mean, maybe being overweight upset him, but he's the one who'd have the least of an issue with what happened with their lives, I guess.
Can I have just a chance to play devil's advocate again?
Of course.
Sure, yeah.
So his response in that is better dead than Smeg, right?
Yep.
Great name of the podcast. It should have been Better Dead Than Smeg.
Fantastic line. Love it.
Yep.
So I'm working off of that a little bit.
Okay.
And also off of the idea that, up against genetic mutants, up against all of that stuff, his cowardice has won through. But he's not facing those at this point. He's up against a stark reality of what he is going to be. And even compared to what he is, he cannot help but call that person a complete and utter fucking smeghead.
Okay, yeah, all right, I'll give you that. That's a fair enough argument. I hadn't looked at it exactly that way. And I will concede that is entirely possible.
That's exactly what I got from it.
Yeah.
No, fair enough.
Character progression for me. That's what it came as. Character progression.
I mean, Lister was gonna fight, Cat was gonna fight, Crichton was gonna fight. That was kind of an absolute given.
I do love better than anything than that tope from Crichton. At the end of
The
Better
dead
anything than
self
oversized
attack,
butt.
that.
Shape of was it out of shape potato or something like his head? That's what his head.
I can't remember.
I can't remember what he said, something like that. Oh god.
Yeah, but this episode's okay, but it's one of the weaker ones of season 6 for me because like, the quality is very high. It's still a good episode, but I don't know. It just felt like Tom said rushed, and
I still like it. It's still solid, but this was when Red Dwarf were at the height of their powers. So even when they were having a bad day, they were having a great day. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still better than season 9, which is my new kick.
I'm sure you stop kicking season 9 for the
Oh
love
my
of God.
gosh.
Oh, don't worry. You wait till we get to that episode. It's going to be a
when
kick.
season 7 has still to be spoken about. For fuck's sake.
Oh, Christine Kachansky.
That woman is useless.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to get worse.
Tom's going in.
You guys take the piss out of me being Scottish and having an English accent. They're trying to claim that she's a fucking Scot. Jesus H. Christ.
And she's speaking proper English. Yeah, I'm right with that.
She's making no attempt to even put on a Scottish accent, not even slightly. It's really annoying. Anyway,
well,
we will
there's
get
the good
to that.
news. We got a couple more episodes to go before we get to her, so don't worry. We've got
all right, yeah, we've got 2 episodes until we get to her.
Yeah, and one of the best of season 7 starts strong. One more thing, because I watched season 7 beginning on Netflix, they've taken the laughter track out, but there's definitely a laughter track on the DVDs.
Is there really? Because I was wondering about that because I watched episode 1 of season 7 the other day, and in episode 2 has the laughter track.
Yeah.
Episode 1 doesn't.
But it's definitely the bit where Alyssa's rocking. The audience was laughing on the DVDs. I remember this. So something's happened somewhere. I don't know why the laughter track's been taken away. There was definitely a laughter track.
They've also added a couple of scenes that weren't in the original
DVD.
In the original TV episode. That makes sense, but they were done as like this was kind of in the time when little extras were done in order for people to buy the DVDs.
Yeah.
So little kind of cut scenes that didn't make it. And they've added one of those onto the end of the first episode of season 7, but we will get there when we get there and I'll talk about it properly then.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's one quote we haven't discussed yet that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorites.
Okay.
When they're talking about going in the time drive to a different time. And Lister says, how about somewhere neutral, like 1422? And the cat pipes in with, how about 1421? Well, what's the difference? No difference. I just wanted to make it look like I was paying attention.
It's the little side eye that Danny John Jules gives when he says that bit that made me laugh.
Precisely.
Just staring.
Just
like I'm listening, mate. It was brilliant.
It's just so good.
It was nice.
Yeah, I love that line. I mean, I love Danny John Jules. He's got such good delivery on these things. But yeah. But I mean,
anyway.
I don't know if this is the weakest episode of season 6 or not.
No, that's the apocalypse, definitely, by a mile.
Well, seeing as the rest of us think that's the best episode, you're in the minority there, Dan.
Yeah. I'm definitely Ben. That's cool. Cool.
Sorry, I'm used to telling Dan that he's wrong about things, so it's just an automatic reaction.
Well,
no, like you there.
So where would you rank this then? Is the Series 6 lineup bottom?
What's that? I need to think of what actually was in season 6. I need to think of the list.
The episodes, yeah.
Yeah, I need to actually try and remember what the bloody episodes were. Wait a minute. So you've got Sirens, Legion, Gunmen, Emo Hawk, Rimmer World, and Out of Time. You know what? I've got to say that either Legion or Out of Time is the weakest of those.
Legion.
Yeah, I think Legion's my least favourite. It's the one I watched the least.
I love it. I think it's great, but it's the
really?
weakest. Yeah. I think it's really, really nice, lovely comic timing.
It's good. It's just not... Sirens.
It's nothing special, but it's just they're enjoying doing what they're doing, and they're having fun.
Sirens was an awesome episode and had the proper Christine Gachansky in it, so that puts it up on the list for me.
Not the fake bitch that turns up in a couple of weeks. No,
the proper one. Dawn of the Apocalypse for me.
Don't worry. She gets relegated to an SFX magazine cover in series 9. The silly bitch. It's all fine. She gets what she's coming for her. I have to go through some episodes there together. Right, we better end this.
Of Ben Gilman are not the opinions of Square Eyes.
Exactly. Disclaimer, guys. Disclaimer.
Okay. Right. Let's say goodbye for now. Goodbye.
Been fun.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Now, smeg off your smeg head. See you next week for Series 7. Now, get the fuck out of here.